It's your girl, VK Johannem, and tonight we're talking about J.S. Garrett. And the J stands for Jesse. So, Jesse's ex-wife, Barbie, accused him of abusing her. And it looks like he's finally ready to talk about that situation on his own platform. Many people believe that Jesse genuinely abused his ex-wife. And many people were disappointed in me for befriending and collabing with J.S. Garrett. I do not believe Barbie's allegations. In fact, I think things were the other way around. I think Barbie abused him, and that the abuse was not a two-way street. I'm going to tell you why. When Barbie made her allegations, I was acquainted with both her and J.S. Garrett, but I hadn't gotten to know either. For unknown reasons, Barbie wanted me to be on her side. So, she forwarded her videos about Jesse directly to me through Facebook. I watched all of her videos. I found her behavior disturbing because A, she was the aggressor towards Jesse on social media. Abuse survivors usually don't do that. Abusers always do that if they have a decent social media presence, but abuse survivors basically never do that. Abuse survivors usually just want to move on. But hey, her abnormal behavior doesn't necessarily mean she's lying. She might just be an abnormally aggressive abuse survivor, right? But her story didn't make sense either. You see, her claim is that Jesse is a narcissist. But part of her story is that J.S. Garrett was a good husband until he went to E.A. Koetting's Black Magical Boot Camp. She said that when he came back, she knew her husband was gone. I think it's unlikely for a brief Black Magical Boot Camp to be able to give someone a cluster B personality disorder. And what got weirder is that she didn't act like an abuse survivor. She acted like an abuser whose victim had escaped. You know? How do I put this? She made a video on TikTok publicly lashing out at the next girl that Jesse dated, which is not something abuse survivors generally do. It's something that abusers do for sure, but not something abuse survivors do. It was just strange to me. So, I listened to two of Barbie's friends describe why they believed her allegations. Neither of those friends were witnesses, of course. Witnesses hate Barbie. But Barbie did have two long-distance friends who believed her. I looked into one's claims and found her to be easily and verifiably wrong. The other was the, turquoise-haired, non-binary person? They posted an audio clip of Jesse telling Barbie off through Facebook Messenger. He said, "All you do is complain, complain, complain. I'd be better off marrying a horse." Which is a fucked up thing to say to your significant other. But he was obviously responding to something she said. In fact, he was obviously responding to a behavioral trend she had demonstrated. By the way, he has visible scars on his face from the ring that he bought her. So I'm gonna need a little more than a little voice recording with no context. Barbie has a mean left hook, I'll tell you that. I've seen the scars. Like, I've been around the guy, man. She punched him harder than I've been punched in my life. But sure, I'm supposed to give a fuck about a voice recording with no context. Personally, if a hoe put one scar on my face on purpose, I would have said worse shit than that. But fortunately, I got to speak to more than Barbie's friends who weren't witnesses. I got to speak to witnesses. And I got to speak to them when J.S. Garrett was not around. And I got to speak to them with no prep time. They had no idea the subject would come up. Before I spoke to any witnesses, I spoke to Jesse himself over Facebook. He told me a few details about his experience with Barbie. He didn't explore those details in depth, but he told me a few. So I said, okay, he's being real vague. Either he's hiding something or he doesn't want to talk about this with me. Could be either. At that point, I gave up. Barbie's friends were unconvincing. Barbie was creepy as fuck. J.S. Garrett was being vague. And I said, you know what? Barbie was the one who wanted me involved, and she won't even tell me what she wants from me. So you know what? Forget it. This is none of my business anyways. I don't really know either the accuser or the accused. About a month passed, and a man who lived with Barbie and Jesse when they were still together visited me at this apartment. We had a bit to drink. He mentioned Jesse once after we'd both had a few shots. And I told myself, don't ask about it, don't ask about it, don't ask about it. Did you witness any abuse when you were there? Fuck! The former roommate looked straight at the floor with wide eyes like this. Yes. I was sitting across the couch from him, and I said, "From who?" He went, "From her." Over the next 24 hours, he went into detail about what he witnessed, and he witnessed Barbie abusing J.S. Garrett. Never J.S. Garrett abusing Barbie. he would tell me a few details, and then we'd switch subjects, and then the conversation would circle back around to Barbie, and I'd get another detail, another anecdote, etc. He had no way to know what Jesse had or hadn't told me, and he had no way to know that I was going to spring that topic on him out of the blue when I'm drunk. When we're drunk. He didn't contradict himself or Jesse once. That was when I became Team Jesse. So I agreed to visit Jesse and the former roommate. They used to live together, of course. I got to know Jesse. And here's the thing. Jesse and his former roommate don't have the same sleep cycle. So I got plenty of drunk one-on-one conversation with Jesse. And I got to hear, finally, from him about how Barbie abused him. He didn't contradict any of his prior statements in any way, or any of his former roommate's statements. I also spoke to a motherfucker who had visited Jesse and Barbie when they were together, and of course, he doesn't contradict himself, or Jesse, or the former roommate in any way. He sure does contradict Barbie, but that's it. The last time I visited Jesse, we got a surprise visit from some of his relatives, his sister-in-law, his brother, and his nephew, who was 11. Jesse had a new gun that his brother had never seen or fired before. So the two decided to run off into the forest and fire said gun, leaving me alone with Jesse's nephew and Jesse's sister-in-law. We just hung out and talked. At one point in the conversation, I vaguely said that back before I got to know Jesse, Barbie tried to pit me against him, and I saw through it. His sister-in-law looked at me and said, "She's a little much. She's a little much." She could tell that I didn't know what she meant. So she said, "She's a little..." Then the nephew piped up and said, "She told me some real nasty stuff when she was drunk." His sister-in-law then told me that she stopped visiting Jesse at his house because of how psychotic Barbie was. About 10 minutes later, I felt that shit about her saying nasty stuff to an underage minor weighing on me, and I said, "Hey, how old were you for the conversation when Barbie told you some really nasty stuff?" I didn't ask what was said to him, I just asked the age. According to the sister-in-law, he was 6. According to the nephew, he was 5. His sister-in-law chose to tell me what was said to the nephew. Apparently, 5 or 6 years ago, Barbie was transphobic or like halfway transphobic or something, but for some reason, she felt the need to drunkenly rant to a 5 or 6 year old about trans people. And it wasn't a normal rant about trans people. She felt the need to go into vivid and graphic detail about the surgeries that trans people undergo beneath the belt to emulate female anatomy. I'm fine with kids knowing what trans people are, but good lord, there is no reason to go on an explicit, drunken rant about the surgical operations applied to their genitalia to help them transition. That is deeply fucking bizarre behavior. Judging by the scars on Jesse's face and the fact that everyone I know who's met Barbie in person describes her as abusive and insane, I'm Team Jesse. Jesse will be returning to his old YouTube channel entitled JS Garrett. I encourage you to support him when he's finally ready to speak on this. Anyways, that's all for now. Have a great night and enjoy your immortality. Check out that link tree in the description below. And more importantly, don't fucking believe Barbie.